Hey guys, Mike here. So Cathie Woods talks about EV and her projections all the time. I listen to them all the time. And then this article came out a couple days ago and I thought to myself, you know what? I have never heard her put this into her calculation, and I think she honestly is underestimating it. And I think a lot of people have been for a long time. And I thought it was just interesting because it really surprised me that the company this article was talking about would be doing this. Like, usually they're on ahead of the game and everything. They're run by very smart people, but there's a chance they made a very big mistake and a miscalculation on the way they decided to adjust their business model, and they might end up paying the price for it. We're going to see. But I thought you'd find it interesting and kind of show you exactly why I wouldn't underestimate the power of this company and what they actually can do with their influence. And so before we get into that, guys, hit the like and subscribe button if you get anything out of this. I really do appreciate it. Use that link down the bottom. You can sign up for Webull if you want to, buy some Cardano, buy some stocks, options, whatever you want to do. You get a couple free stocks. We get a couple free stocks right here at the channel, and we really appreciate your support. And without further ado, let's get into what the heck I'm talking about.
Last year, there were 2.2 million electric vehicles sold around the world, including China, the largest market. We believe that number is going to 40 million in 5 years. And our confidence in all of these platforms and technologies is only growing. And our confidence in Tesla's outlook is only growing. Many commentators out there actually call me Crazy Cathie, and they still do.
And I just want to throw the Crazy Cathie comment in there just because I found it kind of funny. And they actually do that, by the way. So, so some of you may think the same thing. But anyway, here's the article I'm talking about and the road we're going down here. And so here's an article that came out about Toyota, the largest car manufacturer in the world. And it says they led in clean cars, of course, or led the fight to have clean cars, but not EV cars per se, right? They're trying to slow that down because they have made a gigantic bet on hydrogen, right? And having these hybrid cars. And so they realize what's happening because obviously EVs are taking off, the popularity of Tesla, Ford, GM, Volkswagen, all of them jumping on board with EV. And they probably saw the infrastructure bill come out with charging and things like that and different EV types of subsidies. And they went, oh boy. And so, if you look at this article here, the world's largest automaker has quietly become the industry's strongest voice opposing an all-out transition to electric vehicles, which proponents say is critical to fighting climate change. Last month, Chris Reynolds, a senior executive who oversees government affairs for the company, traveled to Washington for closed-door meetings with congressional staff members and outlined Toyota's opposition to an aggressive transition to all-electric cars. He argued that gas-electric hybrids like the Prius and hydrogen-powered cars should play a bigger role, according to 4 people familiar with the talks. And it goes on to say, even as automakers have embraced electric cars, Toyota bet its future on the development of hydrogen fuel cells, a costlier technology that has fallen far behind electric batteries, with greater use of hybrids in the near term. And then I found this article from Bloomberg, which is a pretty good source, back in 2020. It says Toyota bets on a hydrogen future with new fuel cell cars. And it goes on to say Toyota's release of the world's first mass-produced hydrogen fuel cell vehicle in 2014 was a leap in technology, and it takes in the hydrogen gas, charges it under 5 minutes, and travels as far as a gasoline car while only emitting water vapor. Yet over the past 6 years, only about 11,000 of the cars have been sold in a market growing increasingly crowded with battery electric vehicles. And Toyota went on to say that they're looking for a 10-fold increase in the number of that type of car that it's going to be selling in the future. And the one that really surprised me, though, this quote, I guess, as you can see, they're kind of all in on this technology and know they're behind an EV, was this is an article right here on May 14, 2021. And it says Toyota thinks 85% of its new U.S. vehicles will have tailpipes in 2030. And it goes on to say it's interesting to note that even by 2030, Toyota sees models with an internal combustion engine under the hood making up 85% of its U.S. sales at the end of the decade. And that 30% of its U.S. lineup won't have any form of electrification. And so I don't know about you, but that statement actually really surprised me, especially coming from Toyota, who's always been ahead of the game. But the truth is, I think they realized that they might have made a mistake because they could be totally right on the science, that it could be cleaner, cheaper, all this other stuff, and better to have hybrids and all this other stuff. But you know what? If the government don't believe it and the governments don't build the infrastructure in the states, then you're screwed. You can forget about it. Doesn't matter how good your science is. Doesn't matter anything, because they know as well as I do what does, especially the American government. I love my country, but you know what really runs the government? Money, right? Lobbyists, whoever can pay the most. Forget the science. That's what the laws are going to pass, especially in the states. Okay. And so that's why I think they realize they're kind of up a creek right now, and they need to figure this out and try to slow down this EV growth and try to convince people that they are correct in the way they think it should go. And it always helps you to be, you know, the biggest, largest car manufacturer in the world and employ a lot of people, especially here in the United States. I think they employ like 176,000 people, got 10 plants building cars. I mean, dealerships everywhere, all over the country. And so, you know, this is the one thing I never heard Cathie would talk about is the legislative part, right? For those who never saw my Tesla video, I'll link at the end. But the reason why Tesla wasn't going anywhere for a long time is because they didn't have any money to lobby and compete against Ford and GM and all these people. Then all of a sudden they started coming up, getting money to start lobbying, filing lawsuits. And then when that started happening, they started gaining ground in all these individual states. That's when you saw Ford and GM kind of see the writing on the wall and start to shift. Okay, that's what happened. And Rivion's fighting now because Tesla actually got grandfathered into a lot of states. But there are still states right now here in this country that Tesla, a person cannot just go buy a Tesla. They actually have to buy the Tesla and go out of state to get it. And some of them even have to register it like in a different state or something. It's crazy. But there's still states they can't direct to sell to consumer or directly sell to consumers because of dealership laws and things like that protecting them in the states. That's nice. And so, you know, that's something you got to think about. So now Toyota, what they're going to start doing is go around state to state, especially with the ones where they have the plants and they produce a lot of jobs, which produces taxes, that kind of stuff. And they're going to try to convince them to slow down changing these laws for the EV companies, okay? And so that's what they're trying to do. And don't underestimate them at all. That's what's held America back as far as transition to alternative energy, to EVs versus Europe and China, right? Way behind them for a reason. And so, you know, don't underestimate Toyota, though. These guys have a lot of money and a lot of clout. I mean, you can see right here, because as you can see, they're in every state, the 10 plants, dealerships everywhere. Like I said, almost 200,000 employees just right here in the United States alone. They're global, of course, but they've also been working in India and Europe and Japan as well to try to slow down the rate of the EV adoptions. And you can see with the lobbyists, I mean, they have a bunch of lobbyists, okay? I mean, they spend, this is the money we know about 6.2 million in 2020 on lobbying. You can see right here a list of all the lobbyists they have, which is quite a bit. And so I think it's 26, I believe it is. And then when you look over here at the amount of money, and this is what shows you how, you know, basically state capitals or state politicians and federal politicians are for sale pretty much, because look at this. You know, anywhere from less than $1 million upwards throughout the years, over about, what, 7 million now? And that's the money we know about. And just in case you're curious, the automotive industry as well has lobbyists as a whole. And so, I mean, they have 111 clients. That's the not only the car manufacturers, but the charging companies, everything else. Anything that has to do with cars. And look at all the lobbyists. You can tell what companies on to the right and then the lobbyists to the left. And so I wouldn't take them lightly. There's no way they stop the EV adoption, obviously, but can in some states they slow it down? Absolutely. They know the playbook. They've gone through this before when they were trying to stop Tesla. Okay, so you know you just bring out that playbook, try to, you know, I'm not gonna say buy off, but you know, legally give a lot of money to people's campaigns and try to get them to slow down certain legislation coming through. Maybe even try to just dump it all together. Maybe come up with new legislation. Maybe try to put a little more infrastructure in that helps them out with hydrogen infrastructure and stuff like that. That could be stuff they try to do, and absolutely it is something that, you know, I know Cathie always knows about it, but she just doesn't put it in there, because truth is, I mean, I guess in a way, how do you calculate that, right? How do you sit there and say, well, what will our politicians do here, right? I don't know. How much money will they take and stuff like that. So, and another reason I think Toyota knows they're kind of definitely behind or in trouble is just look at their stock over the last year and then look at GM and Ford. I mean, look at this right here. As you can see, I mean, this is year to date right here. And you can see down there that Ford is up 62% year to date, GM's 36%, and Toyota is 17%. And then if we look at the year, you can see it's still way down at the bottom. And I mean, Ford's up 100 and like, what is that, 20, no, about 100%. GM's by 115. And there's Toyota up around 50% maybe. And so we'll see what happens. I mean, I think they'll have the ability to definitely slow it down in certain states. For sure, at the federal level, I don't think they're going to make a dent at all. But this is something to watch out for. And it was probably behind the scenes if the other big, large car companies were trying to slow down the EV adoption as well, because they're still producing a ton of the gas guzzlers, right? So it wouldn't surprise me a bit. You know, something to watch out for, like I said before. And I just thought, I saw that and I was like, Toyota? Like, does it surprise you that was Toyota? I can see it being Ford, GM or something, but Toyota? Like, wow. But, you know, they've made their bet. You know, they made their bet and you got to lie in it, I guess. That's kind of where they're at right now. And so we'll see how it affects the stock and the company and the EV industry, but I at least wanted to bring it to your attention because I find it fascinating. I mean, this is something I've talked about. Again, I'll link my Tesla video at the end. Sorry about the rain, by the way. There's no way in the world I recorded 3/4 of this video and I was about to stop now. But this is Florida for you, right on time, right around between 4:30 and 5:30. So you can always bet on rain if you're planning on moving here. So anyway, hope you got something out of it. Hit the like, subscribe button for me, guys. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow.